Hello. Hello, everyone. So that's going to take me a minute to get back from that drink, because I have not had a sip of drink since, I want to say, 5 a.m., and it is now 5 p.m. Well, actually 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., but you know the gist. Actually, I might have had some with lunch, but I fell back asleep, yada yada yada. Anyway, hello everyone. How you going? G'day. I am AP Calculus. And today I am reading Running from Responsibility by mellifluouslysoft. Yes, it took me hours to get, not hours, but a couple of minutes to get that pronunciation right. Anyway, here is the summary. Arahabaki is louder than ever, and Chuuya is losing it. His ego was the only thing stopping him from going to Dazai, but even that was hanging by a thread. With his head screaming, deadlines crashing down, and no peace in sight, he does the one thing he swore he would never do: ask Dazai for help. I hope you guys enjoyed this. As you can tell, it's a Bingo Stray Dogs fanfic, and it is just under 4,000 words, one chapter, one job. Hope you guys enjoy. Arahabaki isn't usually this loud. Well, Chuuya would say that. He's used to the noise by now, barely even notices it most days. But this isn't normal. He doesn't know if it's extra angry or what. He would be pissed too, honestly, if he was stuck like that. But whatever. He had been asked once or twice if it bothers him, having something screaming in his head his whole life. But it's not exactly that. It's more like a loud internal thought, with just 100 times louder and meaner. Chuuya always says no, but Chuuya always says no. It's not that annoying, but this week has been actual hell. First of all, he was in the middle of working on mission documents, and he doesn't know what's been up Mori this week, but the guy's been a lot stricter than usual, probably because everyone's been slacking off or treating things like a joke. But that is not Chuuya's fault. And now, instead of the usual month to finish this crap, he gets a week. A week, of course. And 2 days ago, he was actually done with it. For some reason, he was super motivated, rare, but hey, it happens. But Arahabaki had been so loud that day, just constant noise drilling into his skull, and right as he was about to save the damn document, it let out a screech, and he flinched. Ended up pressing delete instead. Gone, just like that. He stared at the screen for a solid minute, like maybe if he didn't move, the file would magically reappear. It didn't, and sure, he could have rewritten it, probably would have even been better the second time. But the noise hadn't let up since. Every time he tries to focus, it's like someone's slamming doors in his head. And now now he's 3 days behind, pissed off, and running on too much coffee and not enough patience. It was currently 5 in the morning, and Chuuya had barely slept. His eyes burned, his head throbbed, and every part of him felt like it was hanging by a thread. Right now, he wanted a wine more than anything. A glass, a bottle, whatever. With a tired sigh, he shut his computer off and walked to his room. The floor cold under his feet. Arahabaki still humming like a wire in the back of his skull. He considered heading to Mori's office. The guy was technically a doctor, right? Maybe he knew anything about what was going on for Arahabaki. Not that Chuuya was thrilled about the idea. Just a day ago, Tachihara walked into the office for a quick question and walked out with hundreds of pages of paperwork. No thanks. But still, Chuuya didn't want to end up risking getting on Mori's bad side, especially not this week. Chuuya sat down on the stool, the cool metal biting into his legs, and as he rummaged through the cabinet, his hands landed on the most expensive bottle of wine he could find. Barely anything left in it. Just his luck. It really irked him. That it was almost gone, but he hadn't left his place in what felt like ages. Too much work, too much noise in his head, and not enough of anything to make him feel halfway decent. He poured himself a generous glass, leaned back and let out a long, exhausted sigh. He groaned and hit his head against the counter a little harder than he meant to. Oh my god, shut up already. Arahabaki's constant screeching had finally pushed him over the edge. He closed his eyes for a moment, willing the noise to just stop. The silence never came. It was as if it thrived off of his frustration, getting louder with each second. He took a deep breath and frowned and he took a deep breath and downed the wine in one go, hoping that the damp thing would drown out the noise, if only for a few minutes. Chuuya was halfway through pouring himself another glass when he heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching from the hall. He didn't even have to know who it was. Kouyou Ozaki, always showing up at the most inconvenient times, like a ghost, silently creeping in when things were at their worst. You could have locked the door, Ozaki said, leaning against the doorframe with that infuriating calmness, his gaze flicking over to the wine bottle. Chuuya didn't bother to respond, just glaring at the glass in his hand. Not now, Ozaki. What's got you so wound out this time? Mori's put you on a tight leash again? Chuuya took another deep breath, his eyes flicking back to the counter. Arahabaki, loud. He said through clenched teeth, barely holding it together. Ozaki raised an eyebrow, glancing around as if she could see the noise itself. Didn't you say it doesn't bother you? Yeah, well, it's even louder this week for some reason. Feels like I'm being tortured. Ozaki's eyes softened a bit, but she didn't say anything right away. She could hear the exhaustion in his voice, the layers of stress and frustration creeping through. You really think it's gotten worse? She asked, her voice gentle. Chuuya let out a short laugh, bitter and tired. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Ozaki hesitated for a moment, looking like she might say something else, but then she gave a small shrug, her voice softer than before. Well, I don't think I can do anything. Good night, Chuuya. Chuuya didn't say anything at first. The words stuck in his throat. Finally, he sighs, his shoulders sagging. Night. She gave him one last glance before heading towards the door, leaving him in the quiet, still thick with the noise of Arahabaki. Chuuya didn't get it. Why was it always him? He could barely remember the last time things felt quiet for more than a minute. Was life really trying to make him lose his mind? It was like it wanted him dead or something. Chuuya did remember, though. Years ago, this happened once. Just once. And it had only lasted a day. It was almost like it came out of nowhere, the noise louder than normal. But he fixed it, somehow. He remembered. Dazai. That's how it stopped. Dazai had been the one to handle it. But now Dazai wasn't here anymore. Funny how life works. It always takes the things you need most, doesn't it? Great. Just great. Now he is drunk. His headache has somehow gotten 10 times worse, and he's still behind on his work. Fantastic! He's really going for a personal best here. He squinted at the now empty glass at his hand like it had personally betrayed him. And maybe it had. That the wine didn't help, not with the noise, not with the dull, pounding ache behind his eyes, not with anything really. He was supposed to finish those damn mission documents. Mori gave him a week. 1 week. And he couldn't even get that done. Now, everything was loud and spinning and heavy, and he just wanted to sleep, or punch something. Maybe both. The next day, as expected, Mori scolded him. Great. Just what he needed. A lecture on responsibility and professionalism, while his head felt like it was splitting in half. You were given a week, Nakahara. A week, and you show up with nothing? Chuuya stood there, hands in his pocket, trying his absolute best not to roll his eyes or throw up. Yeah, well, something came up, he muttered in a voice low and dry. Mori gave him that same calm, creepy smile that he always did, the one that said, I could kill you, but I'll just make you suffer instead. I'm sure it did. Chuuya wanted to sink into the floor. He wanted to go to his room, lie down, and pretend that this week never happened. Instead, he was getting a full report deadline moved up and probably a few more assignments dumped on him just for fun. Fantastic. His fingers twitched, an urge to snap out, to lash out, burning into his chest. He was holding himself back, and he hated it. Hated how close he was to doing something he never thought he'll do. Something that would make it all real, something that would change everything. He couldn't stay here, not in the suffocating silence, with Arahabaki screaming at him like it was trying to tear him apart from the inside out. He wanted to hit something, anything, but instead he just clenched his fists tighter and it was like his whole body was screaming at him to do something drastic. He was this close to snapping, to throwing everything away, and just letting the chaos take over. But he wouldn't. He couldn't. Not like this. His breath hitched as he turned towards the door, the urge to leave to run to Dazai growing stronger with every second. He didn't care if it was early or if Dazai was asleep, but he just needed to get out of here. He just needed to get out of here because, God, if Dazai couldn't fix this, no one could. Each step felt like he was dragging his body through quicksand, the weight of everything pressing down harder with every inch he took. He didn't know if he was going to make it to the door without breaking. Hell, he didn't even know if he would make it to Dazai without doing something he'd regret. Chuuya's hand trembled as he reached for the door. It felt wrong, like he was breaking some unspoken rule, but he didn't care anymore. If he didn't get out now, he was going to explode. He knows he looks absolutely terrible right now. No use pretending otherwise. His eyes are burning, bloodshot and heavy, like they're begging him just to lie down and stop. His hair's a mess, his clothes are wrinkled, and he can still taste wine on his tongue, and not the good kind, just bitter, sour aftertaste of drinking way too much and sleeping way too little. He looked straight up disgusting, like something dragged out of a fight and dumped over into a hangover. And he hates it. He hates how pathetic he must seem. Hates how he's showing up like this, exhausted, strung out, and barely holding himself together. But what other choice does he have? So, he went. He didn't want to think about it. He just turned and walked, straight to the agency. Not to his place, not even to the bar. He didn't want to be alone with he didn't want to be alone with this. Not when it felt like his whole world was spinning and everything inside him was screaming at him for some kind of relief. His feet moved on autopilot. The path to the agency felt almost familiar in its comfort, even if everything around him felt like a haze. The streets were quiet at this hour, and the early morning chill biting at his skin. But the early morning chill bit at his skin, but it didn't matter. His head was worse than the cold. His thoughts, all jumbled up and scattered, were worse than the pounding in his skull. He was going to Dazai. He didn't care that he looked like a walking disaster. He was beyond caring about anything else. Dazai was the only one that could fix it, or at least make it stop. If he was going anywhere, he would probably if he was anywhere, he would probably be at the agency. Maybe he hadn't even gone home yet. Who knew with him? By the time Chuuya had reached the building, he could feel his patience slipping away. He didn't bother with knocking. He opened the door to the agency with barely a thought. Stepping inside, the familiarity of the place did nothing to calm the storm in his head. He scanned the room, quickly looking for any sign of Dazai, trying not to think about how badly he probably looked. He didn't have the luxury of self-consciousness right now. When he spotted that familiar mop of hair peeking out from behind the couch, he didn't hesitate. He slumped over, boots loud against the floor, and snapped, "Hey, wake up!" Dazai, as expected, was slacking off, lying down like the world wasn't on fire, arms crossed under his head like he didn't have a care in the damn universe. Typical. Chuuya's voice, sharp and way too loud for how early it was, seemed to jolt the rest of the agency awake. What are you doing here? Someone shouted. The one with glasses? Kunikita, was it? Yeah, definitely Kunikita. His voice cracked halfway through the sentence, probably more shocked at the sudden intrusion than anything else. Chuuya didn't even look at him, didn't care they were all here. That they were all here, eyes locked onto Dazai like he was the only person in the room. Oh, Chibi, hi to you too. Dazai mumbled, barely lifting his head, eyes still half shut with a lazy mocking grin. Shut up! I want you to. What are you doing here? Kunikita shouted from across the room, already halfway to his feet, absolutely scandalized by the sudden appearance of a mafia executive in the middle of their peaceful agency morning. Chuuya didn't even blink. Not now, Megan. This is between me and him. His tone was sharp but tired. Too tired to argue, too wired to care. His eyes were still locked onto Dazai, and it was clear that if Dazai didn't stand up and actually listen to him right now, he was going to explode. Dazai, to his credit, seemed a little more awake now, at least enough to raise an eyebrow. You look like shit, he said, casual, unbothered. Chuya's jaw clenched. Yeah, thanks. Dazai's grin only widened as he propped himself up, stretching like he had all the time in the world. Oh, come on, Chibi, don't be so dramatic. You know, the last time I saw you this bad, you were really hungover. Do I need to get you some water, or... I swear to God. Chuuya snapped, taking a step forward, the last shred of his patience dangling by a thread. Just stop with the jokes, Dazai. I'm not here for this. You sure? You're so cute when you're mad, you know. You should really try looking that way more often. Might get you more attention. Chuuya could feel his blood boiling. His hands balled into fists at his side, and he forced himself to take a breath. He couldn't deal with Dazai's usual antics right now. He needed help now. Dazai. He ground out, voice a little hoarse. Arahabaki, it's way too loud this week. Worse than ever. I can't take it anymore. He stopped himself for a second, eyes flickering to the ground as if the words were too heavy to say. I can't focus. I can't sleep. And I'm so damn close to losing it. He cut himself off, not wanting to admit how much it hurt to even say aloud. His mind was frayed, his body tired, and there was no escape from the constant noise in his head. Dazai raised an eyebrow, looking almost amused. Why would you come here, Chuuya? What? You thought your problem... What, you really thought I'd just solve all your problems? Chuuya's eyes were narrow, his patience already worn thin. You know what to do. Just do it. Dazai hummed, tapping his chin like he was thinking it over. Sounds like someone's finally run out of patience. You really want my help that bad, huh? Yes, Dazai. Chuuya bit out, taking a step closer to the couch, his hand shaking slightly from the intensity of his frustration. I don't care how annoying you think I am. I need you to do something. Now, I can't keep dealing with this on my own. Well, if you insist. But, I could just let you suffer a bit longer. Wouldn't that be fun? Chuuya's fists clenched, and his breath hitched. Don't start. Just do something, Dazai. I swear to God, if you keep... Dazai held his hands up in mock surrender, though the glint in his eyes didn't quite match his act. Okay. No need to get dramatic, Chibi. You know I'll help, just... He paused, leaning slightly forward. You've got to admit, though, this is one of the most entertaining things happened to you in a while. Chuuya just stared at him for a long moment, trying to keep himself from snapping. You're insufferable. And you love me for it. Dazai smirked, and he finally got up. Fine, I'll do what I can, but only because you asked so nicely. Chuuya exhaled sharply, finally feeling like the tension was breaking, even just for a little bit. Just make it stop, please. So, he poked him. 2 fingers, nothing more, pressed slightly to Chuuya's shoulder. And then, silence. Complete, overwhelming silence. It hit him like a wave, crashing through his skull and sweeping away the screaming that had been drilling into him for days. The pressure in his chest eased, his vision stopped shaking, and for the first time in a week, his head felt empty. Oh, he breathed, unsteady. But the relief was too sharp, too sudden, like someone had cut the cord holding him together, and everything unraveled all at once. His knees gave out before he could react. Chuuya? Dazai cut in, alarm replacing the usual mockery. Chuuya didn't answer. His body slumped forward, collapsing against Dazai, dead weight completely out. Oh, Dazai muttered, catching him just in time. His arms instinctively came up to steady him. Okay then, good night. For once, the room was quiet. The agency members who had been watching were frozen in place. Dazai looked him up and down, still holding him, brows furrowed. Guess it really was that bad, huh? Dazai. Kunihida started again, but more firmly this time, stepping closer. Shh! Dazai snapped, not looking up. What? Shut up! For once, he bit out, voice slow and uncharacteristically sharp. The room stilled. Even Kunihida blinked, caught off guard. Dazai's hand was pressed against the back of Chuuya's head now, gently, like he was trying to ground him. Chuuya's breaths came in shallow, uneven pulls. His face pale, and eyes half lidded with exhaustion. Dazai didn't say anything, didn't joke, didn't smirk. The floor was starting to become really uncomfortable, hard, cold, and definitely not made for someone half conscious and barely holding on. He slid an arm under Chuuya's knees and the other supporting his back, and lifted him up like it was the most normal thing in the world. Chuuya didn't even protest, head lolling slightly, too out of it to even care. Dazai carried him over to the couch, the same one he had been sleeping on just minutes ago, and laid him down and gently laid him down, carefully, like he wasn't used to handling someone this delicately, but something about this moment demanded it. The second Chuuya hit the cushions, his body seemed to sink further into unconsciousness, muscles finally relaxing after what must have been days of constant tension. Dazai clapped his hands softly, standing up to stretch like the past 10 minutes hadn't been weirdly serious. Alright, don't be too loud, okay? Right? He whispered, gesturing exaggeratively to the others in the room like they were about to wake a sleeping baby. He is finally quiet, don't ruin it. He spun on his heels and pointed to Atsushi. So, I'm going to slack off now. Atsushi, do my work. Atsushi blinked. What? Why me? 'Cause I just saved the day, Daza said, already walking away like the matter was settled. Heroes' rights, basic stuff. You didn't do anything, Kunihida snapped, exasperated. Dazai only hummed, tossing a lazy wink over his shoulder. Exactly, and yet everything's peaceful again. You're welcome. Chuuya didn't even know what time it was. He didn't care either. But it was definitely night. The air felt heavy. The air felt different, quieter, and quieter in the heavy way late hours always did. Or maybe that was just his head finally not splitting open. Either way, he wasn't complaining. What he was complaining about, though, was the loud bickering coming from across the room. Voices. Too many voices for his current state of mind, especially Kunikita. God, does that guy ever shut up? Chuuya groaned, draping an eye over his arms. Can someone tell Four Eyes to use his inside voice? He mumbled, voice raspy. Some of us are dying over here. Atsushi yelped. He's awake! Oh, thank you, Atsushi, Dazai said, flatly sauntering over. Let's yell louder, that will help. Chuuya squinted, trying to piece things together through the haze of exhaustion that was still clinging to him. His head felt a little less like it was going to explode, but his body still ached, sore in places he didn't remember being sore. He blinked a few times, realizing he was sprawled on a couch, not his bed, and definitely not a place he meant to end up. What? His voice came out rough, like he hadn't used it in ages. When was I asleep? Dazai gave a small, dramatic shrug, leaning casually against the armrest. A few hours ago. I don't know. You passed out in my arms like a little kid. It was adorable. Chuuya shot him a tired glare, but the words didn't have much bite behind them. I wasn't adorable, he muttered, rubbing his face, and I don't need you to baby me. Sure. Dazai's grin was annoyingly present as always. But you look way cuter when you're disoriented. Shut up, idiot. Chuuya muttered, still feeling the weight of his headache. Chuuya closed his eyes just for a second, trying to savor the rare peace in his head. It was almost too peaceful. Something felt off, but he wasn't about to question it right now. He might have felt like a wreck, but damn, he was going to enjoy the silence while it lasted. For a moment, he let himself drift, thinking he could maybe get a few extra minutes of rest, but that had lasted for all of 2 seconds. Hey, did you finish all my work? Dazai's voice rang like an alarm clock, calling out to Atsushi. Work. Chuuya blinked, eyes snapping open. Work. Oh, no. He jerked upright, with an alarmed hiss clutching at his head, as if the sudden motion would make the pounding stop. His heart stammered in his chest, a wave of panic hit him. He didn't finish it. He didn't finish his own work. No. Chuuya scrambled to his feet, suddenly wide awake. I didn't do it. The realization hit him like a freight train. He had not done his work. Mori had already been pissed with him earlier, and now he was about to deal with the aftermath of this disaster. How could he let his mind slip when the deadline was already so tight? Without a second thought, Chuuya bolted up and darted for the door. He didn't bother with trying to gather himself. Back inside the agency, the silence was deafening. Everyone just stared at each other for a moment, unsure of what to say. Dazai leaned casually against the doorframe with that insufferable grin still plastered onto his face. He was the first one to break the quiet. That's how he shows his gratitude? Right. Okay, everyone. This was absolutely amazing. Just so you know, this author, my word, sorry. English isn't this author's native language, but holy shit, this is still amazing. And in the notes, they write, hey, wrote this in an hour because I suddenly remembered I love BSD. Very short and sweet, thank you for reading. And my brain is like, how on earth did you nearly write 4,000 words in an hour? That just astounds me. I can only write like 1,600 words. Mate, you're impressive. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure to take care of yourself, because I certainly didn't last night, being up to 6 a.m. Anyway, take care of yourself. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.